Folks, regular season is done, the conference tournaments are done, and we are set to begin March Madness in the Midwest region and the first round from Greensboro, North Carolina. First up, number 14 Kennesaw State against number 3 Xavier. Hello, everyone. I'm Mihir Sinhasan. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be doing the live react here from the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication. Hope you guys are having a great morning if you're on the West Coast, and it is afternoon on the East Coast where this game will be played. A great game today as we have Kennesaw State, the Atlantic Sun champions, making their debut in the Big Dance after going 26-8 during the season. Their counterparts, the Xavier Musketeers, the third seed for today, will come in 25-9, fresh off an appearance in the Big East Conference Final. And we'll start off with Xavier first. Had that appearance in the conference final, and it was not good. And I talked about this on my podcast yesterday, to quote Megan Thee Stallion. They could literally have a house with all the brick they got from what they did in that game. Let's take a look at starting lineups, and we'll start off with Kennesaw State, and then we will get to Xavier. Again, great sides on both sides of the ball. Should be an interesting one. We'll start off with Kennesaw State first. Number 1, Terrell Burden. Number 3, Chris Youngblood. Number 22, that being Spencer Rogers. Number 5, Brandon Stroud. And number 0, Damon Robinson. We are underway from Greensboro Coliseum. Kennesaw State will be in the black uniforms going from right to left. Xavier in the all-white going from left to right. Boom kicks it out to Jones now. As once again around the three-point arc, here's Kunkel. Kunkel drives inside, lays it up and in for your first basket of the day. Joining Kunkel in your starting five for Xavier will be number 0, Soleil Boom, number 3, Colby Jones, number 2, Jerome Hunter, and number 24, Jack Nungy. Look at Kennesaw State, pretty experienced side overall, and they've returned all 5 starters from last season, according to CBS. I got the broadcast up right now. That one is put up, and it's no good there by Brandon Stroud. Now here's Kunkel taking it up for Xavier. Nungy feeds it inside, up and in. Good basket there by number 2, Jerome Hunter. He just decided to fade away, puts it away with the right hand. Back and forth we go. Xavier with the first 2 points as we approach 90 seconds into this match. This one's tipped up by Robinson, and that's no good, as here comes Xavier the other way. Out to Jones. Thought about the 3. Now kick it out. Nungy takes the 3. That one rattles out. Hunter can't grab the rebound as it's taken up by Kennesaw State. Out in the corner now. Stroud for 3. That one is off the rim. And the boom ball for the rebound goes to Hunter. A little bit of confusion there, and it looks like Stroud has won it back, but the ref is going to be calling a travel. I don't know on who, but I believe it might be on Stroud. Let's take a look at this. So Boom was taking it up. I think Stroud must have tripped, which caused Boom to struggle there. And yes, I think the travel will be called on Kennesaw State. (18-13). A little bit of physicality, but it's mainly been Xavier getting the buckets, up 4-0 right now. Now to Kunkel on the right elbow. Out to Boom now. Boom on the left wing. Step back 3. It's good. And Soleil Boom, believe it or not, triples his point total from what we saw in the conference championship against Marquette. Only mustered a single point in that game. The big 3 for Xavier, Boom, Nungy, and Jones, struggled throughout as they all had single digits. Meanwhile, Kennesaw State gets their first bucket of the day as it's Terrell Burden laying it off the glass and in. He will head to the line to try to shoot a free throw, get the old-fashioned 3. And Terrell Burden, of course, one of the many guys on this Kennesaw State side that plays, or rather is from Georgia. 8 guys on the squad from Georgia and 3 from the neighboring state of Alabama. Kennesaw State about 5.5 hours away from Greensboro, North Carolina. So they should have a good, formidable crowd, although it is going to be tough to fill a 20,000 seat Greensboro Coliseum. Xavier is in the Cincinnati area. Cincinnati's about 7 hours or so from Greensboro. Meanwhile, looked like Hunter drove to the bucket, and now he will head to the line as it's for the first shots of the day for Xavier. Taking a look at Kennesaw State. This is just from CBS's bracket. Transitioned to Division One in the 2005-2006 season. Won 2004 season of the Division Two men's basketball championship, as that one is up and good by Jerome Hunter. So it's now 8-2 in favor of the Musketeers. And as I said earlier, Kennesaw State, as I said earlier, making their first appearance in the tournament, making their first appearance in the Atlantic Sun Conference Championship game, beat Liberty by a point in that game on their home court and able to advance. Here's Burden now driving inside, guarded against Boom. Now to Youngblood. Youngblood pops up the three. It was just right on the corner of the paint area. Nonetheless, here comes Xavier the other way. Boom feeds in Nunji. Nunji tried to lay it in and actually went off the side of the glass. Back towards Kennesaw State it goes. Here's the three, and that one is good. Spencer Rogers knocking the first three of the day for the Owls. 9-5, though, in favor of the Musketeers. Here's Jones. Jones once again tries to feed in Nunji in the paint. Just tries to lay it in with the left. Gets a little bobble there, and that will go in for two. And when you talk about it so far, Xavier has loved to just get in the paint, especially attacking Jack Nunji, who was just out-muscled and out-physicaled in that game, per se, against Marquette in the conference championship. And it looks like Kennesaw State stepped out of bounds there, I believe. Couldn't tell who was the one taking it up, but it might have been either Robinson or Burden. But nonetheless, pretty good. I don't know how your brackets did yesterday. Mine actually did pretty well. I actually had one where I had Xavier winning it all, and it ended up pretty good in my opinion. Only two missed protections on the day. Meanwhile, Hunter in the paint lays it in, and he will go to the line to shoot one. Once again, Xavier showing the muscle and showing the physicality early in this one, up 13-5 against Kennesaw State. A little less than 4 minutes into this first half. Jerome Hunter from the line this year, 56.8, as he will put that one up. So 14-5. We'll see a change. Colby Jones out and Desmond Claude in. And Adam Kunkel, that is, was the one to lead the squad in terms of points in that conference championship. Desmond Claude not too far behind with 11 on the day. Meanwhile, this one driven inside and put into the basket. Drives in down low and once again put in. I believe that was Youngblood getting it there. Here's Hunter. Claude at the top of the key. Guarded against number 24, Quincy Adamakoya. Still with Claude as he's now on the left wing, trying to drive inside on the baseline now. Tries to feed inside, Boom. Lost the handle, but able to get it back, and he'll lay it in for two. So 15:27 left. Little changes for Kennesaw State. Alex Peterson also out there on the court. And Adamakoya drove to the bucket, couldn't put that one in, but he will go to the line. How about this from Soleil Boom? We've seen him throughout just drive to the bucket, get some baskets. Of course, he's been a sharpshooter from three, and he shows it there. Game's at commercial break right now, and there's not too many games going on. Of course, the women's tournament begins today. Marquette and South Florida are currently playing right now. Marquette currently up 37-32. Also around the men's basketball tournament, you've got Michigan State and USC playing. The Spartans up 28-21. I don't know who it was. I think it was USC's Twitter that put something out. It was a great tweet, honestly, where they talked about it was literally Troy against Sparta. And I was like, that's a really good promotion. And the winner plays some Eagles. So let's see. I don't know how that battle would go if it was a literal battle, but nonetheless, pretty good action. As I said, you got the women's tournament. Ohio State's women's team is a third seed. I don't know if they're playing today or not, but hey, I mean, got a double whammy in Columbus. That's where USC and Michigan State are playing right now. Yeah, Ohio State's women's team plays James Madison at 1:30 Eastern on ESPN2 on what should be an interesting game there. I honestly have thought about this throughout my time. And of course, if you watch my podcast, Buckeye Sports Breakdown, you know that I like to kind of mess around with stuff here and there. But I really liked this Ohio State's women's team. I'll tell you what, if this women's team does well and they make a run, I might consider on going to Dallas. Same goes for the men's team on Final Four. I've already looked at tickets. Shout out to Game Time and all the other great ticket places. Ticketmaster, you're kind of still in the rough with how you handle the Taylor Swift stuff. Speaking of which, Taylor Swift gets the Eras Tour kicked off later today in Glendale. This is a long commercial break, but yeah. So commercial break right now between Kennesaw State and Xavier. Muskie's up 16-7 right now, and so far it's been pretty well in terms of points and in terms of just getting to the bucket overall. Looking at points, Jerome Hunter leading the team with 7 overall, 1 rebound. Jack Nungy has been a powerhouse in the middle, only guy with a point, rebound, and an assist so far. That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah. I'm watching the CBS thing. Evan Washburn actually said a great feature there. Interestingly enough, 2019 to 2020 season, Kennesaw State did not have 2 wins. They only had 1 win on the season, 1 in 28. And then this year they won 26-8. Crazy to think about it, but it is true. That one by Adam McCoya is up and in. So it's now 16-8 in favor of Xavier. This one will be the second one for Adam McCoya, averaging 4.6 points on the day, or rather on the season. As we're back to a 7-point game, approaching 5 minutes through this one. Here's Boom to take it up. Xavier has made their last 3 field goal attempts. Kunkel feeds it up. Hunter gets the alley-oop up and in. And Jerome Hunter has been spearheading this attack. And Kunkel loves it for sure. Now, once again, here's Peterson at the top of the key. Nungy's kind of playing off of him into the paint area. Out to Burden. 10 seconds left in the shot clock. Burden sends Boom to the ground, and he'll put that one up and in for 2. Nifty move there by the senior out of Smyrna, Georgia. And now a foul will be called. So you got Terrell Burden taking that. How about this, too? Not to say that Boom broke his, or rather Burden broke his ankles, but it was something overall. Here's Boom. Ball movement by Xavier to start it off. Claude thought about the 3. Now to Hunter, out to Nungy, back to Hunter. Oh, my word. Great passing sequence. And Hunter, untouched, will just dunk that home. 11 points on the day for him, and we are not 6 points into this one. This one floated up and in. Nifty move there by, I believe it was Peterson getting that. Here's Boom again. A little shove there. And they're going to call offensive foul there. Or rather, couldn't tell who it was on. How about this, though, by Jerome Hunter? He was the one mixed up in that. But how about this dunk? Right down Broadway. He was giving that right back to Nunji. And Peterson on the other side just floating it in. Haven't seen Kennesaw State attack the bucket that much. That's pretty much it. How about, 7 points per game for Jerome Hunter. Ian Eagle said it best. Hunter's put up 11. The rest of the team has put up 9. Here's Boom. Feeds in for Nunji. Turns out, takes a shot, and his will rattle out there. So once again, here comes Kennesaw State down by 3. And Claude was caught up in the middle there as Burden was trying to drive to the bucket. Foul will be called on Desmond Claude. And so far, Xavier playing a pretty interesting game on the ball and definitely in the air as well. We're going to see Jack Nunji head to the bench. Burden, I believe, is also heading to the bench as well. Here's Simeon Cottle with his first Coddle of the day. Here's Cottle. Layup just wobbles in there. And just as I was saying earlier, Kennesaw State not attacking the bucket that much. Well, you saw it there. Here's Jones. Sees a seam inside. Now he's on the floor. It's a scrum there. And now possession's going to go in favor of Kennesaw State. Colby Jones had his bottom on the ground. I mean, he could have just cradled it like a baby, but props to Kennesaw State. The 2 Owls that were there were able to get the ball first. And it shows, looks like, just looking from the overhead view, I think Jones just lost it. Props to Kennesaw State, only down by 5 now for a chance to make this a close one. If there's anything we've seen in this tournament, no team is able to escape an upset. And Cottle was taking that up. It actually went off of Boom's right foot. All right, how about this Aflac trivia question? This is on CBS. Meanwhile, long 2 is put in by Devon Robinson. We're back to a 1-ball game, folks. This is interesting. Meanwhile, Kunkel on the other side, his 3 rattles out. Trying to save that, there was number 4, Cesar Edwards, for Xavier. Meanwhile, here comes Kennesaw State. Out of McCoya, out of number 13. He takes a 3. That one is bounced off. It goes back, though. Offensive rebound by Youngblood. Tries to keep it in. It's a scrum on the floor, and it's back towards the Owls. Case and Jennings able to keep it up. Damon Robinson's 3 also jolts out. So Xavier still maintains the lead. Meanwhile, Kunkel on the other side. Edwards now to Boom on the left wing. Boom just floats it up off the glass and in. Top part of the glass, too, I might add. So Xavier's still keeping this up as we have about 11:48 left to go in this first half. Boom has made all of his field goals today. Meanwhile, Adam McCoy's 3 also bounces out. So after being pretty well, it's Xavier on the other side. Claude tried to take it and maybe dunk that ball, but nonetheless, he will head to the line to shoot some free throws. 11:35, and Xavier trying to go on a mini run so far. It's been an interesting one. It's also been a feisty one. Chris Youngblood sometimes laying his life on the line, trying to get into the desk to save that as we head to a commercial break. Xavier up 22-17 against Kennesaw State. We'll keep that right here. Let's see how long this commercial break lasts. So as I said earlier, it's going to be interesting to see how Kennesaw State responds in this game. The last time a tournament debutante ended up winning their game was 10 years ago when Florida Gulf Coast and Dunk City, as it was popularly known as, ended up winning that game, winning the 2 seed, beating Georgetown, and then eventually making it to the Sweet 16. Of course, Kennesaw State trying to do the same, and that too, similar to this game today where it's Atlantic Sun versus Big East. That was what happened in 2013, Florida Gulf Coast, playing in the Atlantic Sun at the time against Georgetown, who still plays in the Big East. So, like I said, we're at a commercial break right now. Not too much going on in general in terms of the other games going on. Definitely a lot of action later today, which I definitely will be happy to definitely see that. Hold on. I just have to look at my phone. I launched another, well, I didn't launch it, but I'm doing another podcast and we released another episode a couple hours ago. So there's different social media messages there. But how about this schedule, though? It's about 10 o'clock here in Phoenix. That's 1 o'clock Eastern. So about a half hour away from UC Santa Barbara against Baylor, number 14 against number 3, another matchup of that kind. And I think a lot of people are scratching their heads at Baylor. We're the 4 seeds in the Big 12, lost to Iowa State in the Big 12 tournament, and ever since, not too much power overall. Even in a stacked conference like the Big 12, not too much from Baylor. So that will be an interesting one there. VCU St. Mary's, in my opinion, might be the most colluded, or rather, might be an overlooked 12 versus 5 matchup. You got VCU winning the Atlantic 10, and then St. Mary's ended up being the runners up in the WCC, lost to Gonzaga in the final there. I would really be interesting to see how that game would end up, because I think that would have a lot of implications. And I think a lot of people have not seen St. Mary's that much. It's interesting to put a team like St. Mary's. I granted, don't quote me on this, but I believe they were a 5th seed last year and beat Indiana, but don't quote me on that. So back in Greensboro, and Xavier's still up 22-17. Some guys enjoying themselves. They're in a banana costume right now. If you're wondering what I'm wearing this. I don't have any Xavier gear. I had one a few years ago, and then of course I grew out of it. This is my only Xavier gear, quote unquote, because it's a navy blue hoodie. And then underneath I have a Sun Devil shirt. So if you're wondering, to quote, I'm not supporting Kennesaw State. This is a ASU Sun Devil shirt. Back to the action we go, and it's Claude heading to the line to shoot 2. First one's up and good. Desmond Claude, as I said, put up 11 points in the game against Marquette. Ended up being pretty good, and he's been on a tear so far, especially in these past few games. 3 of the last 5 games, he has mustered double-digit points, including the 11 against Marquette in the conference championship. First 26 games, all single digits in terms of points. Meanwhile, kind of a fiery pass there by Kaysen, and again, or rather Kaysen Jennings. Meanwhile, Xavier on the other side, Jones now to Hunter, spins inside right underneath the bucket, got tipped there in the middle. Props to Youngblood and Robinson, who are ganging up on him. Here's Jennings. Jennings in the middle, kicked out there, and Youngblood for 3, and the ball goes swish. So we're back to a one-ball game. Kennesaw State only trailing Xavier by 3. Nunji, Kunkel back to Nunji in the paint, spins, turns, can't get it to go as it's rebounded by Robinson. Robinson, just nifty move away. Claude tried to steal it. Meanwhile, the 3 is up and in, and we're tied at 23. So fresh out the timeout, Kennesaw State with 2 consecutive 3-pointers, and their crowd is loving it so far. First ever game at the Big Dance, and Cottle has just tied it up at 23 apiece. Timeout taken by Xavier, and the madness starting to ensue here in Greensboro. Take a quick break, and we'll be back. And we have a close game here between Kennesaw State and Xavier, knotted up at 25 apiece with around 10 minutes left to go in this first half. I'm Mihir Sinhasan. Thanks for tuning in on this Friday morning for me here in Phoenix, Friday afternoon if you're on the East Coast. And so far, the key factor, especially for Xavier, has been points in the paint, 16 compared to Kennesaw State's 6 points, but the Owls have responded with 9 points off the bench compared to Xavier's 1, and with 3.3 3-point shots made compared to Xavier's 1. And again, looking at this team led by Amir Abdul Rahim for Kennesaw State, was an assistant at Texas A&M for 4 years, included 2 Sweet 16 appearances. So he has been on a staff that has played in big moments and knows how to win when it comes to March. And the team has definitely played like that during this stretch. If you saw my thing earlier, this is for commercial breaks. I will try to get maybe an easel or whiteboard from the local grocery store after this one. And the Rahim family has been pretty big. As Sharif Abdul Rahim is actually the president of the G League. He is at the game today as well. Meanwhile, Adam Kunkel of Xavier is at the line, and that one rattles out and is no good. Kunkel, one of the seniors on the squad, transferred to Xavier from Belmont. Only guy on the squad, too, with tournament experience, as he played 11 minutes in Belmont's game in the first 4 back in 2019, and then also played 2 minutes in their loss to Maryland. Belmont was an 11 seed that year. So back to Kennesaw State. So here's Burden taking it up, floats it up from around the charity stripe. Rebound is going to be grabbed there by number 21, Armani Harris. It looks like Xavier is going to be the one to grab it there. So interesting tournament so far, as Kansas started off with a pretty confident win. Now, Bill Self, although he has checked out of the hospital, was not at the game yesterday. His first game without Bill Self since 2003, as Colby Jones will float that one in. And we've seen that from like the right corner of the paint area. So here's Peterson. Now to Burden. Burden now tries to flip it inside. Peterson's just able to get it. Now lost the handle. Nonetheless, able to get it back. Tries to put the fadeaway up. It bounces, and it will go. Little lady luck there, I might add. Here's Hunter. Nunji working up against Peterson, and he'll get the hook shot to go. Back and forth we go as the paint area starts to become more and more crucial. Although Kennesaw State has knocked some crucial threes, they were down 23-17 at one point in this one, able to make it 25-23. Meanwhile, what a turn there by Burden. Actually was facing away from the bucket, but is able to put it in as we're back to a 1-point game. Here's Hunter now inside. His left lay-in will not go. Foul will be on the floor, so it won't count either way. How about this from Terrell Burden, the senior once again from Campbell High School. So Hunter going back to the line for 2. And as I was saying earlier, if there's anything that we've seen from Xavier so far, especially from Jerome Hunter, it has been a scoring today. 12 points on the day so far, and what has been a great one so far, you can make that 11 points on the day. The most he has scored in a game was 15 against UConn on New Year's Eve, in which Xavier won 83-73 at the Cintas Center. He'll get that second one up and in. 32-29, the Musketeers lead. Now it's 6:17 left to go in this first half, and Hunter, fresh off what has been a stellar first half for him, he will head to the bench. Jennings, it's picked off there by Jones. Jones going to the bucket, trying to pass it to Boom, collided there. Can't tell who that was. I believe it was Jennings, and looks like Colby Jones will now head to the line. Nifty steal by him, and again, Xavier going on the fast break. And you had Soleil Boom in the area as well, but looks like Jones will be taking it there. The ball was picked off as it was Burden in the area trying to get that one to go. So here's Jones, puts that one up and off the front part of the rim. So you got 6:04 left, and Colby Jones, as they were saying, third year with Xavier, and Iron Eagle mentioned this on the broadcast. He was the MVP of the NIT last year, in which Xavier ended up winning. That too with their interim head coach, as Travis Steele was fired right after that was over. And now Travis Steele, a little up the road from Xavier in Oxford, coaching the Miami Redhawks. This one fed in. This was Robinson trying to get on it. It's going to be a blocking foul called, I believe. But back to Sean Miller, 4 tournament appearances coaching the Muskies, 12 balls with Arizona, including 3 Elite 8 appearances. As this one, fresh off the restart, goes to Terrell Burden. That one's up and in, so it remains a 2-point game. As here's Jones. Out to Boom. Going towards the top of the key, trying to feed Kunkel, who was on the left, and that will be the first blatant turnover of the day for Soleil Boom. Just 3 turnovers now for Xavier. Yeah, he's expecting it to slide down here just a little bit. Puts the brakes on too early. So back to Kennesaw State. They can tie with a 2. They can take the lead back with a 3. Out of McCoya. Now to Robinson. Robinson flipped out to Youngblood. Youngblood pops a 3, and that's good. But it's going to be a foul as well, too. So he's going to head to the line for a 4. Adam Kunkel can't believe it, as Kennesaw State continues to cook Xavier in this game. So Kennesaw State back at the line, and Chris Youngblood, their leading scorer throughout the season, 8 points on the day. Chance to make it 9 fresh off a 3-pointer. Boy, is Kennesaw State taking it to Xavier right now. That free throw will rattle out, though. Back with Jones and now to Boom. Now to Jones. Jones trying to take it to the bucket, and Youngblood stripped it out with his body. Colby Jones heading back to the line. So Colby Jones back at the line. Xavier down by 1 with 5:03 left to go. Amir Abdurrahim trying to pull upset here. First ever tournament appearance as a head coach. First tournament appearance for Kennesaw State. That one rattles out for Jones. So far, you look at it, Xavier's offense has been all right, but nowhere close to stellar so far. And I think it's been more telling on the defensive side. Second free throws up and good by Jones. We're tied at 34 between the Owls and the Musketeers. So less than 5 minutes to go now. Kennesaw State's been a little bit of a tear. Last 4 field goal attempts, that is, have gone their way. Reach and foul there on Jones, who is going on against Burden. It's been an interesting one so far. As I said earlier, I have a bracket where I had Xavier doing it, and believe it or not, did very well. Very stellar, per se. You could call it stellar. But nonetheless, a little concerning so far. Here's Youngblood. Lost the ball, and it's back with Xavier. Nunji, the one to pick it. Out to Kunkel now. Now Jones on the right-hand side. Out to Nunji. He pops a 3, and that's airballed. Yeah, it's a good look. It just it just was entirely to the right. I think had it been a little bit on target, could have gone in. Back to Damon Robinson. Stroud to Robinson, and he'll put it away. Kind of a pseudo alley-oop there. Not what he expected, but Robinson using the size. And I mean, if you're 6'8", you can grab that ball pretty willy-nilly with a jump. And that's what Robinson did right there. Here's Jones. Lost the ball there, able to get it back after a little bobble. 10 seconds left in the shot clock. 3:35 left to go in the half clock. As Jones spins it, baseline floater's no good. Rebounded by the Owls. And once again, Kennesaw State can feel themselves here. Xavier has already taken a timeout. And it looks like the timeout will be taken. The Owls have come to play here, up 36-34 against Xavier. What can the favorite Musketeers do to stop this? We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back with more right after this.
Create more than a car, to create a connection. The first ever Mazda CX-9.
When you see Wendy's squared hamburger, you know you're getting better. That's why Reggie Miller is celebrating our efforts.
Boom, baby! There's the food! My goodness, next door!
Reggie says celebrating Wendy's hamburgers is a team effort.
Look, man.
And he's right.
In the building. You like it.
When you want the best hamburger, square the food! Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's Dave Single.
Lowe's knows it's not just what we've got, it's who we've got. That's why we got nearly 300,000 associates that got your back. Sure, Lowe's knows the tools, materials, and tech to tackle it all. The Lowe's knows you also need the how-to crew. And partners pros count on. Lowe's knows no matter what you're taking on, it's always easier when you got the right people, the right products, all at the right place. You got this, and we got you.
There's a reason why it's called a possession. It's not just who has the ball, but the opportunity. From Lexington to Nashville to Columbia, possession means this moment has your name on it. All you have to do is take it. So be ready and don't miss your shot. SEC fans, be sure to stay informed about COVID-19 and vaccine options at PfizerCovid19.com.
Buying a home? Rocket Mortgage will cover 1% of your rate for the first year at no cost to you, saving you hundreds, even thousands with Inflation Buster. That's more road trips, more spa days, more of what you love. Plus, if rates drop within 3 years of your home purchase, you get exclusive savings when you refinance with Rate Drop Advantage. That's more cash in your pocket. Save when you buy today and refinance tomorrow. Don't miss these big savings. Visit inflationbuster.com.
Back in Greensboro, and for the second time, it's Xavier who had to call. Actually, pardon me, I think it was Kennesaw State that called a timeout there. 3:21 left to go in this first half, and the Owls are up 2 against Xavier and the Musketeers. So here's Burden on the court. Burden trying to dance in the end line, feeds it out here, and Adamakoya's three goes off the front iron. Boom. Now to Jones, tries to feed in for Hunter, and it was a little too forward as Hunter could not grab the ball, goes out on the end line and back to Kennesaw State. How about this? Xavier's not had a field goal in the last 3 minutes or so. Crazy, absolutely crazy to think about it. As I talked about earlier, the offense started off pretty well, but it's been stagnant ever since. Here's 3 now, and that one rattles out. So Kennesaw State also having some shooting problems as of late. A more trying one, though, is for Xavier. This one fed inside. Hunter tries to feed in for Nunji, and it's picked off there by Peterson. Almost given right back towards Peterson. Here's Burden. Fed inside. Peterson on the other side. He'll get that one to go and one. And Kennesaw State is up by 2 possessions for the first time today. So Xavier is on upset watch if you're just tuning in. That too, a Xavier side that has a pretty good resume this year. Beat UConn twice this year. Beat Marquette at home. Beat Creighton. Went to the Big East Championship, but struggling against the Atlantic Sun champions Kennesaw State. Peterson's free throw is no good. So it remains 38-34. 2:15 left to go in the first, and Sean Miller's side have to do something here. 2 of the last 3 tourneys for Sean Miller have included his team going out in the first round, and that too as favorites in that game. So just because Miller has gone to the Elite Eight many times in his history doesn't mean that he is prone to upsets in the first round. Burden thought about the 3, and now he'll hang on to it as we're under 2 minutes to go here. Here's Burden. It just falls towards Adam McCoya. 3 seconds left to go on the shot clock. Long 3 there, and that one is up and in. Spencer Rogers trying to blow the roof off this place where the Kennesaw State fans are. Largest lead of the day for the Owls as they're up 7 against the Musketeers. And it's mainly been from behind the arc. 5 for 12 today. Xavier has only put up 1 3. Nunji's 2 is up and in. And for the first time in 4 minutes, Xavier is able to manage a bucket. And how about this? Crazy to think about it. Less than a minute to go in this first half, and Burden will take this back. Here's Peterson. Back towards Youngblood. 10 seconds left to go on the shot clock in the paint. Blocked there by Claude. And Claude able to keep the rebound. He gives it right back towards Peterson, though. Can't put his 2 up. It's a ball. It's a hot potato, I should say, in the middle. Case in point, Claude was trying to feed in Hunter, and Hunter got the last touch. He's trying to argue Burden got it as it went out on the end line, as it's Kennesaw State ball. Sloppy so far from Xavier, and it shows there. Yeah. Just watching the replay of it. Burden got an initial touch, but I think Hunter also grabbed in. It seemed a little rather unnecessary as Hunter was the last one to grab that. But nonetheless, I should also note that Kennesaw State is in the bonus. Xavier is in the double bonus right now. So any fouls in that regards would result in free throws either way. 31.3 seconds left to go in this first half. First one is up. No good. Right back towards Burden, and Kunkel is called for the foul, and Burden is on the floor. It looked like he got clocked in the face there. And with the hack, he'll go back to the line if he can. He'll be grabbing his face there. I don't think Kunkel meant to do that, but it did seem very errant. Kunkel running in from behind the three-point arc, and it looked like a little body check there on Burden. Again, not the best there. Yeah, looked like Kunkel led in with his right hand there instead of a body check as I initially described it. But as I said, hopefully Burden is okay. He's shaking it off, still trying to rub his eyes out from it. The guard, 5'10" guard, 170 pounds over there. Brandon Stroud will check out. So 30.2 seconds left. Kennesaw State back at the line for a 1-and-1. This one is up. This one's good.
Here's
once again, combo guard for this Kennesaw State team. And he replaces the senior Spencer Rogers. Looks a little lost on the free throw, doesn't it? He does.
Second one is up and also good. 43-36 in favor of the Owls, and Xavier will have maybe a little bit to give. Maybe a chance to make it a 2-ball game before half. But either way, from what we've seen in this first half, Xavier has simply put just not been there on the defensive side. And on the offensive side, started off well in terms of physicality, but have struggled since. So 28 seconds to go. Kennesaw State with their largest lead of the day. Claude in a trap right now, actually at around midcourt. Now back towards Boom. To Claude again. 15 seconds left on the shot clock and on the play clock. Here we go to Claude. Claude trying to do something here. 5 seconds left to go. Boom with a long three, and that's going to be airballed. That was simply put, might have been the worst shot Boom has put up this entire year. Kennesaw State showing out on defense. 1.5 to go. Long shot by Burden, and it'll actually go above the glass. And that's halftime. Simply put, not good from the Musketeers, only mustering 36 as Kennesaw State puts up 43. And I think Soleil Boom's last try towards the buzzer, I think, speculates what we just saw. Simply put, very disappointing. And Sean Miller's side will need to pull off a comeback if they are to advance to the next round. I'll take a quick break, and I'll be back for halftime in a few moments. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and you're watching my coverage of March Madness on my YouTube page. Second of action beginning in Greensboro, and I go back to a quote that Charles Barkley said in the pregame for Kennesaw State. Are they satisfied with just making the tournament, or do they want to do something more? And we've learned through these first 20 minutes, Kennesaw State definitely wants to do something more, as they're currently up 43-36 over Xavier. I'm Mihir Sinhasan. Thanks for tuning in. I'm currently at ASU's broadcasting school in one of the edit bays calling this game. This will be the only live play-by-play reaction game for today. Tomorrow, I'll be doing Duke versus Tennessee. That one should be a very interesting matchup. Tennessee handling Louisiana for a good while before the Raging Cajuns made a comeback that just fell short. And then Duke as well. Again, a lot of people were suspecting they might be upset by Oral Roberts. Did not see that overall. Back underway from Greensboro Coliseum, though, and a lot of people had Xavier going to the Final Four. Not doing well right now as Stroud lifts up a three. Ended up getting pushed, but no foul will be called. Xavier trying to avoid upset here at Greensboro, home of the 1974 Final Four. Again, this stadium has been used for a long time. It looks like Kunkel stepped out of bounds there, as it feels like almost everything that can go wrong for Xavier's offense is going up wrong right now. If you're wondering, that 1974 Final Four, it was actually NC State against Marquette, and kind of a home field advantage for NC State, only about a couple hours away from Greensboro, in the same state too, I might add. But nonetheless, the Wolfpack ended up winning that. Kansas and UCLA were semifinalists that year. Here's Burden, and his layup is no good. So it remains 43-36 in favor of the Musketeers. Here's Colby Jones, finds a seam. His reverse just falls out. Painstakingly close. I think it decided to take a revolvement around the rim before it just falls out. This is painful. Oof. Now, look, luckily for Xavier, they will be able to keep it. Nunji, not a Hunter. Round and round the ball goes. Boom thought about the three, and now it's to Kunkel. Now to Hunter inside, floats up the two, and that's going to be good for the Musketeers. And boy, did Xavier need that bucket, not just after the Nunji miss that decided to roll around like it was a flying saucer, but especially after that. I should note the winner of this faces either Pitt or Iowa State. And, of course, the crowds have been pretty high up. Here's Chris Youngblood, and Youngblood will get the two to go for the Owls. Colby Jones, number 3 for Xavier against number 3 for Kennesaw State being Youngblood. Hunter, not a Boom. Boom's floater 2 is no good. Moonball for the rebound, grabbed there by Terrell Burden. Here comes Burden the other way, right to the bucket, puts it up and in, and we're up to a 9-point lead for Kennesaw State. I think the question becomes, if you're Sean Miller, do you start calling a timeout? This team just, it doesn't have a spark. I don't think it's really necessarily the energy. It's just the poise is not there. Now here's Jones, top of the key three, case in point off the rim. That's a three that you got to make. You can make it almost everywhere in the floor, and it's leaving me scratching my head because it's not like this team's playing without energy or it's just lackluster. It's just, I don't know. Maybe it is lackluster from their point, but they don't seem in the right headspace right now. And that's a problem because at the rate we're going, Kennesaw State's going to pull an upset. 17:32 left to go in the second half, if you're wondering. Youngblood out towards Rogers. Rogers just has to lift it there. Hunter got a tip. He'll get the steal here. Going up to the bucket, evades Stroud. Can't get that. So I think that's your case in point right there. How in the world do you not make that bucket? How in the world do you not make that bucket? You have right in that space. Sure, you have Stroud in the area, and then meanwhile on the other end, you'll have Cotto putting that up and in. Double-digit lead now for Kennesaw State. Nunji, not a Boom. Out to Jones. and the ball got kicked. So we'll stay with Xavier, but nonetheless, things have gone from bad to worse for the number 3 seed, down by 11 against Kennesaw State. And that too, a Kennesaw State side that hasn't made it to the tournament before, only became a Division I side in the 2005-2006 season. 2006 was the first time Sean Miller led the Musketeers to the NCAA tournament. Ended up going in 4 consecutive years there before he ended out going to the desert in Arizona, as we like to call it here at Arizona State, the Kitty Cats. Jones' floater is no good. Again, simple shots that would simply go in otherwise. Here's Stroud going to the bucket. That one doesn't go, though. Najee grabs the rebound. Ever since half, it's been 6-2 run for Kennesaw State. Nothing yet for Xavier. Colby Jones. And it's going to be, I think, a reach-in foul called there on the Owls. One of their first fouls of the day. But I think, as I said earlier, I've made my point. And I said this earlier on the podcast, too, yesterday, was can Xavier be a title contender? And my question was, are they consistent? My answer mainly was no, because of just how they played. Sure, they played well, but how consistent can they be? Especially when you're playing teams. I mean, if you think about it, they're playing teams like DePaul. Claude loses the ball, and case in point, here comes Kennesaw State the other way. Cotto with the layup, can't get it to go. Rebounds, no good, but the follow-through is there by Rogers. I'm here shaking my head like the rest of you guys, and Sean Miller's got to call a timeout. This is just abominable. Kent State on an 8-2 run out of half as they were led by 7 at that time. Defensive, physical, and simply put, just handing it to the Xavier side. 15:46 left to go to the second half as we head back to a commercial break. Folks, Xavier's on upset alert right now. I don't even I can't. Maybe I can explain it as upset alert. Maybe it's not, but they are trailing Kennesaw State 51-38 right now. So I'm not in a good mood because I'm supporting Xavier. But again, Kennesaw State, you have to give it to them. They've been a great team throughout this year, and they played like the better team. I'll tell you that. But Kennesaw State's played well, and looks like we were going back to immediate timeout here. Don't really understand that, but we'll just keep this right here. But I think simply put, Xavier's got to play a better job in the paint. I mean, you have guys like Nunji and Hunter, but you don't have to make stupid fouls. And I think some guys like Kunkel, I know the emotion is there. A lot of these guys haven't played in the big dance, despite Xavier being very good this year. But I think when you look at how teams have played, you just have to have that confidence. And I look back at how Virginia played, especially towards the end of that game, where you have a chance to maybe just heave that up, and again, Furman takes advantage of it, rightfully so. I mean, what a result that was, and it actually helped me get a good bracket. Speaking of my brackets, I actually have one where I got Xavier winning. So in that regards, I'm not in a good mood. But in other regards, it is a pretty good mood overall, and I'm definitely gonna enjoy it. I got one where I've got USC beating Michigan State. Actually, I've got a few. Michigan State's currently up 66-57. Baylor and Santa Barbara are currently in the first half. The Bears holding on to a tight lead, only up 29-26. So we could easily see what could be another 14-3 upset over there. Xavier had a good command on Kennesaw State before the Owls just took it back from the Musketeers overall. Like I said, a lot of great action in the women's sport as well. As you look at some of the women's teams out there, you had Marquette in South Florida kicking off action over there. The Bulls were able to beat the women Golden Eagles 67-65. Elsewhere, in terms of Ohio, you do have three teams from Ohio making the tournament. Ohio State being the big one as a third seed. They kick off their tournament run at 10:30 Phoenix time, which would be 1:30 Eastern. And I think Toledo may also be in. Toledo is a 12 seed in that tournament. I'm trying to see when they would be playing on the ball, but nonetheless, a lot of great games, a lot of great action between the men's and women's games. About 32 games overall today. So again, props to the women's team. They've got theirs underway, and an interesting game to start off with. 9-8 Marquette versus South Florida. So back here in Greensboro, and the pain continues for Xavier as Jack Nunji misses a three right off the restart. And I don't know how to explain this because Xavier could easily turn this around. It's just trying to find the push button. I think the other point is to note is that Kennesaw State's been 5 for 13 from behind the arc. Xavier 1 for 9, and this is to a Xavier side that's been shooting, I believe, 39.5% this year from behind the arc. That is tied for second overall this season. And again, I think you have to give credit to Kennesaw State's head coach, Amir Abdul-Rahim. Played at Southeast Louisiana from 2001 to 2004. Assistant at Murray State, College of Charleston, Texas A&M. Worked with a lot of great players as well. Worked with Robert Williams, who currently plays with the Celtics when he was with the Aggies. So definitely a guy who's worked with great talent, worked with great teams. Meanwhile, Rogers on the other side, his three's up and no good. Offensive rebound by number 24, that being Quincy Adamakoya. Rogers and Jones almost picked it off there. Xavier's going to have to pull off a miracle. 3 seconds on the shot clock as back to Adamakoya, and they're going to call a foul on the floor, I believe. You're going to have 0.2 seconds left on the shot clock, and I believe they're going to reset it here for Kennesaw State. It's a little change here as you'll have Terrell Burden back and also coming back Kaysen Jennings. to the upperclassmen on this side. Burden, one of the leaders on this side, a senior overall, has had about 13.5 points per game. Overall, pretty good day so far for Kennesaw State. Let me bring up what that looks like as that 3 rattles out there. I believe that was Youngblood taking that. Kunkel, now to Boom, going towards the baseline, feeds in Jones. His layup is up and in. So, again, another kind of rather a mercy basket for Xavier here. Not much to note overall. A little bit of a steal. This one goes in the back court, and that's one's picked up there. There's a Burden actually going back to track it. Nonetheless, shot clock at 5. Here's Youngblood. His floater 2 is up and in. 53-40. Kent State leads with 13 minutes to go. And unless Xavier can pull off probably the comeback of this tournament, it looks like we're going to be saying goodbye to a Muskie side that restored a lot of hope. I'll be honest with you. Restored a lot of hope for the Musketeers overall. Here's Nunji now as his floaters up and in. So once again, kind of dancing on the 11-point, 13-point difference between the Owls and the Musketeers. However, if you told me it would be the Owls up by 11 instead of Xavier, I would be very surprised. Don't get me wrong. This one now for Burden. 8 seconds on the shot clock. Now going back to Jennings. His floater is also up and in. So both teams trading floaters. Both teams trading rather the point differential. Xavier pushing it to 11. Kennesaw State puts it back to 13. 12-30. And I think that's the point for Xavier, is the fact that even with that offense, who do you blame here? I think or rather with the defense, I think you got to stop that. Don't get me wrong. I think the offense needed to do better. This was a team that was stymied against Marquette in the Big Ten Conference Final. We're down like 31-10 in that game. Absolutely dismal in that first half, and we're seeing remnants of that game here in Greensboro. So foul called. We also got Baylor on upset alert. 3:15 left with their game against Santa Barbara. That too in the first half. UC Santa Barbara leads 30-29 right now. Here's Hunter, and he'll get that 2 to go. So once again, we're to my point, back to the 11-point difference. But yeah, looks like at the rate we're going, might have to start with ASU. If you don't know me, I'm a student here at ASU at the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication. And of course, I love broadcasting, as you can see. Now, we'll not be doing a live react later today. Got some interesting ones in Ohio. I am from Ohio, if you don't know. Kent State against Indiana should be a good one. And then after that, you'll have ASU TCU. So I'll be doing a little bit of a simultaneous commercial break between Kennesaw State and Xavier. We'll keep it right here, though. But as I was saying, I got a buddy of mine. He's got a monitor, so I'll probably go to his room. He's been showcasing the March Madness games throughout this entire run. A lot of great results yesterday. I'll tell you what, in the lounge of the dining hall, I think it was just jam-packed to watch Furman's finish against Virginia and then West Virginia, Maryland. West Virginia could have won it on a buzzer beater, ended up rattling out, and then I guess almost unless you've been living under a rock or you don't have a phone, I think you understand how the Furman Virginia game ended out yesterday, and simply put, what exactly happened. That might be the stupidest performance I've seen, to be honest with you, but I think Xavier for right now is coming in a close second overall. Let's take a look at some of the other games going on. Michigan State on their way to a victory against USC, less than a minute to go in that one in Columbus. Then, as I said earlier, Baylor and Santa Barbara in a close battle. Baylor was on upset alert. It felt like they were the 1-3 seed that was going to be on upset alert overall. I'm trying to find out whether or not, when was the last time there were 2 14-3 upsets. Of course, the last time a 14-3 upset period happened was in 2021 when Abilene Christian beat Texas. That was during the COVID year. All games were played in the Indianapolis area. let's see. Last time it happened twice was in 2015. UAB defeated Iowa State. That too, but I should also note both games were decided by a point. UAB beat Iowa State 60-59. Georgia State beat Baylor 57-56. Yeah, it was a crazy game. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Georgia State defeated Baylor. That was on a buzzer beater, and their coach, I think it was the coach's son that put up the buzzer beater, and then the coach was celebrating so much he got injured, and he ended up being on his scooter for the game against, believe it or not, against Xavier for their round of 32 matchup. Again, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think I've got the ideal there. So yeah, a little bit of a history there. You've got overall 14 seats have been 22 and 122 against some great squads. That is the 3 seats overall. Although when it comes to March, it is something special. I think the biggest deciding factor today for Kennesaw State, other than the 3-point shots, have been bench points. 17 for the Owls, only 1 for the Musketeers. Let me shut off UC of Santa Barbara. I was watching that for a while. But hey, one of my friends said it. He was like, well, here's the thing. My bracket's busted, so I want chaos. Well, don't necessarily like chaos when your favorite team is the one receiving it, but that's the case for Xavier. Burden was the one burdened there by Colby Jones falling on top of him. He will head to the line.
So Jones picks up his 3rd personal foul.
And now you're probably getting into foul trouble too. Jones just got his 3rd personal. I'm trying to see if anybody really is in foul trouble. 3 fouls for both sides. So you got there. Got 11:39 left to go. There was a malfunction on the CBS score clock in Greensboro Coliseum that they were saying it was 1:13 left. It is 11:13. Although either way, Xavier's going to have to pull off something incredible to get a victory, as we'll see Damon Robinson get a 2 over there. Jones, Claude, now to Kunkel. Kunkel out to Jones, back to Kunkel. Now to Jones, finds a seam, gets it up and in. So once again, the Muskies answer back. Now the question becomes, the golden question is, can Xavier stop Kennesaw State's offense? That's been the only reason why they've been unable to get on a run recently. This one fed inside, up and blocked there by Hunter. Ball will stay with the Owls. We got some interesting games. VCU St. Mary's just started up, 11:27 left to go in the first quarter. You got the Gales up 10-8 in that game. Here's Youngblood up against Kunkel, now moving inside, still working against Kunkel, puts it up, and he'll head to the line for 2. So 57-46, and again, you have to give a lot of credit to the main 3 for Kennesaw State: Terrell Burden, Chris Youngblood, and Damon Robinson, all averaging more than double digits throughout this entire season. When you look at the score clock today, Youngblood with 12 points, Burden also with 12. Rogers, interestingly enough, a pretty good day for him overall. That being Spencer Rogers, another senior from Buford, Georgia. Second one is up and also good. So we're back to a 13-point difference. The question becomes, if you're Xavier, when do you call a timeout here? Because it's pretty much an even game. And I know timeouts are reserved for runs, but at the same time, it feels like as this game goes along, Kennesaw State answering you back is basically a run, in the sense that you're not getting any more leverage. So how does that occur? I mean, it's almost in the sense, if you're Xavier, you have nothing to lose when it comes to the lead. If you want to call a timeout and they come out and shellac you, it's okay, because you're already in a losing hole. Meanwhile, Hunter was in the paint. He lifts it up, and he's going to head to the line for 2. And again, Jerome Hunter, one of those guys, ended up he got to 10 points. I mean, we weren't even 6-7 minutes into the first half, and he already had double digits. He's got 17 points on the day. Hunter, a guy who's been consistent and was one of the rare consistent guys in the game against Marquette. You look at how Xavier has done on the box score today. 8 points for Jack Nungy, 8 for Kobe Jones, 7 for Soleil Boom. So once again, continues to be in single digits. Second one is up and in by Jerome Hunter. All right, back to Kennesaw State now. And now it's back with Burden, with Robinson, Stroud. As once again, Kennesaw State keeps it outside and now trying to drive. Burden now will circle back out. 6 on the shot clock. Finds a seam past Nungy, and he'll lay the reverse in. Again, that's just one thing you just can't do. And another blatant turnover, although I believe it was Stroud trying to get it. He could not keep that one in play. So ball will remain with Xavier. But as we've seen over the past few minutes, it's been going between an 11 and a 13-point difference. And before a while, it's going to be Xavier trying to foul Kennesaw State. Although, to be honest with you, I think Xavier might have given up. Meanwhile, Boom shoots a 3, and that rattles out. I don't think he's made a 3 this entire game, or if he has, it hasn't been since the first half. Only one made 3, 1 for 5 from the behind the arc today. 1 of 10. That's crazy. Only 10% from 3-point shooting, as this one is popped up and no good, rebounded by Hunter, who, to be honest with you, is probably the only good player on the court, as Jones is now shaken up behind the field of play. Well, if you talk about a nightmare, I think you saw one today for Xavier. Looked like he just took a little knock. It was around the left hip, and I think Burden knocked into his right leg area. It seemed like something in the lower body, maybe in the hip or maybe towards the knee, but looks like Jones, he will just be on the bench. Won't be headed to the locker room for any tests. So that's a fortunate sign for Xavier, but not a good look, and definitely not at this moment for Kobe Jones. Kunkel, and now to Hunter. He gets it up. He'll get that one up and in, and he'll head to the line to make it the old-fashioned 3. So who knows? Maybe we get away from this 11 and 13 mantra, which has been the case throughout this game for a while. Update from our first game of the day. Michigan State just beat USC 72-62. So unfortunately for me, I actually had a bracket yesterday that went 15-1. My only incorrect pick was Arizona beating Princeton, and it ended up being pretty rough, in my opinion, I might add. I didn't necessarily like the ideal, but I did pick Xavier to win this. I did pick USC, so I already got one incorrect pick and could be on the way to the second. Here's Jennings. Are they going to say stepped out of bounds? Yes, indeed. Turnover for Kennesaw State, and maybe a chance for Xavier to get a little bit of lady luck on their side. Again, when you look at the type of comebacks, and I think about Princeton, Arizona yesterday, I was watching that one intently where Arizona had a command. Princeton didn't really have a lead until the end when it mattered. Here's Claude, now to Jones. Jones working up against Jennings, approaching the paint, spins towards the baseline. Floater is up and in. Momentum possession, as the CBS broadcasters called it, and Xavier only down by 8 now. And with that, Amir Abdul-Rahim calls a timeout. Xavier trying to get some momentum back, only down by 8 now with 8:21 left to go. Take a quick break, and we'll be back with more action right after this.
Jordan Poole is the best stealer ever.
Monkey Bowl is the best ever. Thank you.
Don Stanley, true pickpocket.
Don Stanley, best ever.
She's known to lead the catching 5-time defensive player of the year. Hey, Tamika, I think you can you just order two?
The box already? I love this kind of music.
When you look into your future, do you see a life full of obstacles or possibilities? In the process of changing the world, the Army transformed the lives of millions to the strength and the character of this country. If you see obstacles ahead of you, take a closer look at this force. That's been overcoming them for almost 250 years. Where you can draw strength from those beside you and make your history.
Chipotle's new chicken al pastor is fire on every level. Fresh chicken hot off the grill. A rich marinade of seared marina peppers and ground achiote balanced with a splash of pineapple. All combined for the right amount of heat. Chipotle's all-new chicken al pastor is where fire meets flavor.
That's it. Yeah. Progressive's Home Quote Explorer makes it easy to compare home insurance options. Man, I told my wife I'd been here for hours. What are we doing now?
We live. Save time and money with Progressive's Home Quote Explorer. What you do afterwards is up to you.
Oh, I was actually just thinking I would take a nap. Wait a second. Okay.
Switch to the network more businesses choose. It's America's most reliable 5G network.
Pencil in.
Customer satisfaction with small business wireless service. We could go on.
All right, back here in Greensboro, and Xavier actually got a little bit of a mini run going, which says something. I think in any other game it would be rather disappointing, but in this one it seemed as a good sign. Of course, Amir Abdurrahim trying to pull off a victory. Was an assistant at Texas A&M, so he's used to winning in these big games. As that one's blocked off by Nunji. Chance there for Robinson to maybe extend the lead for Kennesaw State. So maybe a chance for Xavier to cut into that lead. Here's Claude now in the middle. Looks for options. He goes to Boom. Boom has been rough from behind the arc. Only 1 for 5 from today. Decides to go inside. Floats up the 2 and puts it in. And we're back to a 2-ball game, folks. 61-55 in favor of Kennesaw State. 7-0 run for the Muskies in the past 90 seconds. Here we go. Back out, and ball goes towards Xavier. It was Burden trying to drive towards the bucket, and once again, I talked about this earlier, the fact that Jack Nunji's got to show up in big moments. He showed up there when Robinson was trying to put it up for the layup, and then right in the middle, as Burden was trying to drive towards the bucket, the ball ended up trickling out towards the line, and then afterwards, it's Xavier ball. Maybe a chance to make it a 1-ball game with a 3 here. 61-55, the Musketeers trail. Here's Claude now. Claude up against Rogers in a little bit of a trouble as Boom has to get into the backcourt to get it, and with that backcourt violation called on the Musketeers. Again, you talk about it in sense where you are right now in this game. It's a momentum shift for the Musketeers. Where do you decide going from here? 6:56 left. So don't get me wrong, there's still a chance. 10 turnovers today for Xavier. But nonetheless, the Musketeers remain on upset alert. If you're just tuning in, I'm Mihir Sinhasan, And thanks for tuning in. This will be my only live play-by-play react for the day, but for the post-game, I will be doing some work. I'll be doing a little post-game recap of what's to happen. If Kennesaw State can pull this off, that will definitely be one of the headlines I will talk about. Kunkel to Hunter, can't get it up, can get the follow-through right into the bucket. 4-point game now between Kennesaw State and Xavier. And maybe if you're Abdul Rahim, and if you're Amir Abdul Rahim, you might want to consider another timeout. This one put up and no good by Burden. Chance here for Xavier. Here come the Muskies. Here comes the boom to the bucket. Won't put up the basket, but he will head to the line to shoot a pair of free throws. And now you can feel the Xavier energy coming. Just like out of a lightning bolt. Was down 8 points at the timeout. They knew they were on upset alert. And I said it earlier, this is a team that I think can fix it. They're playing more physical. They're playing more locked in. Their season is on the line, especially a season when you have seniors like Jack Nunji, like Soleil Boom, who are leading the squad. Speaking of Boom, he'll put his first one up and in. So it's back to a one-ball game, 61-58, 6:06 left to go in the second half. Second one, up and in. 2-point game between Kennesaw State and Xavier. That being said, it's also important to remember guys in foul trouble. Stroud and Youngblood currently have 3 on the day, and Nunji and Kunkel have 2 for Xavier. A little bit of a misread there. I wasn't paying attention, but it looked like there was something going on. I should also keep in note that there are fouls in play. Speaking of which, in terms of fouls, Xavier's currently in the bonus. Kennesaw State could get in the bonus with a Xavier foul. Here's Rogers. Youngblood, 3 off the mark. And a chance to tie here for Xavier with 5:37 left. Here's Boom. He's going to circle out as he was once in the paint area. Now goes back inside, lays it off the glass, and in! Tie game here from Greensboro Coliseum. And like a phoenix rising from the ashes, backs against the wall, Xavier has come back from being down by 13 to tie this up in a matter of minutes. A 13-0 run for the Musketeers. You love to see it, folks. It's what March is all about. Here's Burden. Circles out. 5 on the shot clock. He's now in the paint up against Nunji. His one's deflected by Nunji. Goes back to him, though, for the rebound. Shot clock buzzes, and it's off. Went off the rim, so it won't be a shot clock violation to Kent State. Jones on the other side for a 3. No good. Rebounded by Nunji, and they're going to call a foul on Kennesaw State. Ball stays on Xavier's side of the court. That is on the offensive side. 4:47, and that too I forgot to add, or forgot to mention, or remember. You call it as it is. But the fact of the matter is Nunji's going to head to the line because Xavier is in the bonus. A team that was down by 13 points at one point. It was actually more in the case of, it was going back between 11 and 13. Kennesaw State failed to put it up, went down to 8, and then after a timeout where Xavier was down 61-53, they have been able to just storm back. Usually we see this on the other side of stuff when it comes to March Madness. You see the upset team trying to spring a victory. But Xavier's playing villain today against the debutante Kennesaw State. And for the city of Cincinnati, of course, the Bearcats have kind of been in a rut ever since. Of course, I lived in Cincinnati for many years. That's why I've been doing the podcast. I've been doing Buckeye Sports Breakdown. Forgot to mention, Xavier's got the lead now. Jack Nunji made that free throw up and in. 4:47, and now confidence is coming towards this Musketeer side. Second one is up. Will be off the front iron. How about this? Kennesaw State making their first appearance ever. Xavier making their first appearance since 2018. Peterson looks for options, and he'll go towards midcourt where he'll see Burden. Burden towards the bucket against Jones, and the foul will be called. Will it be on the floor? I think it will. 6 fouls for Xavier. I believe they've got one more to give. But it looks like, I think that was on the floor, if I'm not mistaken, and indeed it will be. Jump ball. Rogers to take the inbound here on the end line. So on the baseline now. Now to Peterson. Peterson now looks for options. He's going to be going against Nunji inside. His hook shot, no good, but it's going to be an offensive foul. Away from the ball, and it was Stroud pushing against Jones. Again, a little bit shocked as to how that was called, but Colby Jones playing tough in the area. He's led this Xavier team a lot this year when it came to games in general. Had a great game against DePaul down the stretch that caused Xavier to make it to the semifinals, beat Creighton handily in that game before going to face Marquette in the final. So Colby Jones is at the line now. Again, you look at how these guys have played. Most of the trio, that is Jones, Nunji, and Boom, held to just a simple point. Now, when I say point, I say double digits, or rather single digits of points. It's also important to note Colby Jones has 4 fouls, one more, and he is out of the game. Youngblood and Stroud also are at 4 fouls. Youngblood has 14 on the day. Stroud has only put up 0, but he's put up 4 rebounds as well. Second one for Jones, no good, as it's rebounded there by Jennings. Here's Peterson. Now a 3 here. Chance for Rogers, no good. 63-61, Xavier leads, as here comes Jones the other way, takes it to the rack, puts it up, no good. And here comes Kennesaw State. Back and forth we go. Stroud from the right hash, tried to reverse it, almost got it up and in, but he will head to the line to shoot a pair. Boy, oh boy, we have gone from almost a chill game overall to a NASCAR-style pace. Simply put, what a day. What a day. Xavier up 63-61, 3:46 left to go in the second half as we head to a commercial break. 63-61, Xavier beating Kennesaw State right now.
And it continued.
Looked like there was a little tussle there between Boom and Kunkel. Of course, two veteran players. I think both of them just trying to calm their emotions, trying to play their final game, most likely. Now, they could be going there. Boom, a graduate student, actually at Xavier, trying to get a master's in sports administration. So he will be around the sports industry for a while. Kunkel on the other side, a senior from Belmont. Both free throws up and good, and we are back to a tie game. If you're wondering how we got here, Xavier had much of a command before Kennesaw State went on a big run at the end of the first half, led 43-36 at halftime, ended up leading by as much as 13 to get to this point before Xavier went on a 13-0 run, took the lead, was up 63-61, and now it's Kennesaw State back to try to retake that. It is an interesting game down the stretch. 3:18 left to go as here comes Burden. Nunji playing zone against him, and now Burden again on the baseline. Peterson puts up his two, no good, rebounded by Kunkel. And now Soleil Boom will slow down the pace, something that we did not see before the timeout from either side. 15-2 run for the Musketeers in the last 6 minutes, as I mentioned before. Jones now to Kunkel. Kunkel now flips it out to Jones. The three-point arc has not been a helpful tool for Xavier today, only 1 for 10. Nunji in the paint, tried going reverse, and he was fouled there. He will head to the line once again. Jack Nunji today from the free throw line, 1 for 2, and we're getting to that point now where that could be the difference in how that game ends up. 2:41 left, and as always, I'll probably say it a few more times before the end of the stream. Thanks for tuning in. Great start to the Live React series. First one is up and no good for Nunji. You'll see a change here. Peterson is going to be out, and again, Kennesaw State has not managed a bucket to save their life in the past few moments. All momentum, at least for the meanwhile, has gone towards Xavier in that regards. Here we go. Back to Nunji, a chance to retake the lead. It's up, and this one's good. 64-63, the Musketeers now lead. 10 shots. Wow, that's crazy. Iron Eagle just said Kennesaw State has missed their last 10 field goal shots. Insane. Here's Burden. Will this be 11? Yes, indeed. Ball will stay with Kennesaw State. Was last touched off Xavier. It was Nunji and Hunter in the area. It looked like it was Nunji trying to catch it, and Hunter just swatted it away. Not the best communication for Xavier. If you're wondering, Xavier's in the double bonus. Kennesaw State just in the bonus, as Xavier's only had 7 fouls. That's going to be 8, with Kunkel being caught up in the middle. If I'm not mistaken, was that Kunkel's? I think that was Kunkel's 5th. So Adam Kunkel, the senior, is going to foul out with that, presumably, I would guess. I don't know if the stat sheet's a little ahead of my stream, but either way, Kunkel in foul trouble. He is on the chopping block right now. It looks like it was his 4th. So one more foul for Kunkel, and he'll be out. This one's up, no good. Rebound goes right towards Kennesaw State. Picked up there by Jennings. Not good for the Muskies. Now to Robinson. Robinson with some space. Trying to see who can get off his screen. 5 seconds left. He'll take the 2 himself, and he'll sink it. 2 minutes left, and Kennesaw State is up 65-64 with exactly 2 minutes to go. Timeout taken. Well, folks, this is what March is all about, and the debutantes, Kennesaw State, trying to pull an upset just like Florida Gulf Coast did against Georgetown 10 years ago. I'll take a quick break, and I'll be back very soon. Don't go anywhere, folks. Well, that was a quick timeout. I couldn't even get my commercial sheet up and running. So, nonetheless, we're back there. They just showed that Atlantic Sun is 8-41 in conference tournaments. Chance to make it 9-41 here in Kennesaw State to start off their March Madness history 1-0 against a Xavier side. Of course, coming back with Sean Miller. This team earlier this year ended up winning the NIT championship, but then ended up getting Sean Miller as their head coach. He was their coach from 2004 till 2009 when he went to Arizona. Kunkel for three. Bingo! 67-65. 100 seconds left. And Xavier trying to play upset villain. Villain as in avoid the upset. Well, hey, Musketeers stay together. All for one and one for all. Jennings now in the paint. His is up and it will roll in. 67 all. Here we go. The gunslinging continues. The Owls against the Musketeers at Greensboro Coliseum. 1:11 left. Here's Boom. Now to Jones. Jones feeds in. Boom. Great pass. Can't get the finish to go. He was wide open for the layup, and Soleil Boom missed it. Less than a minute to go now. And the ball and the game is in the hands of Kennesaw State. Still a chance to maybe do something. Burden to the bucket. Puts it up. No good. Here comes Nunji. And now to Boom. 38 seconds. Ball and power in the hands of Xavier. And with that, Sean Miller will call a timeout. 33.5 seconds left to go. Boy, oh boy, when I thought about doing this, I knew it was going to be interesting, but this interesting with Xavier up against it. I mean, I know Ohio likes to mess around sometimes in good ways and bad when it comes to their sports teams, but oh boy, this is something. Down by 13, now tied at 67 apiece. Once again, thanks for tuning in. Xavier's going to have the ball here, just to note. I'm unfortunately not doing any other games today. Tomorrow, I will be doing Duke versus Tennessee. That one will be at 2:45 Eastern on CBS if you can watch. If not, I'll have the live react right here. But still, 33.5 seconds. Sean Miller and the starting five for Xavier in the circle with their seats around. It's also important to note right after this, Pitt against Iowa State. The winner of that game plays the winner of this. And again, just knowing the atmosphere, a great one so far. Xavier about 7 hours away from Greensboro and Kennesaw State on the other side, about 5.5. Pittsburgh's about 7 hours away as well, should they beat Iowa State. And again, the Cyclones, as I like to say earlier, as I said on my podcast, like to play a, quote, Midwest road trip of 15.5 hours. Again, if you're from the Midwest, you kind of know what I'm talking about on those trips. But nonetheless, back to this game, 33.5 seconds. The Owls are back out on the court. The Muskies are going to break huddle soon. 23 seconds left on the shot clock, 33.5 on the game clock. So 10-second difference. Kunkel on the right-hand side. Now to Boom. 28 seconds, back out to Kunkel. Still at the three-point arc area. Feeds it in for Jones. Jones with the reverse. Tries putting it up. No foul. Triple team in the area. His second shot is no good, but he is fouled this time. Colby Jones, tough as a nail. He could put three guys on, and he still puts it up and still gets the foul. And once again, we go back to the three-point line. And folks, this is why you do notes. This is why you put up. Let's see. How does Colby Jones do from the line? 67%. Okay, that's a pretty solid one today. Not the best, but overall pretty solid. He's been 3 for 6 from the line today, 4 for 13 in terms of field goals, 0 for 2 from behind the arc. That's kind of been the story of the day for Xavier, only for 2 for 12 in that regards, despite being a great three-point shooting team. And you have, and I think more importantly, Chris Youngblood fouled out at 14 points, the leading scorer for Kennesaw State, one of the leading scorers in this game and the leading scorer for them this entire season, has fouled out. It's important to note 18.3 seconds left. Kennesaw State has a timeout. Xavier has a timeout. And here's Jones's first free throw. It's up and good. That's a good look for Xavier overall. Now, the question is for Kennesaw State, how do you work it? And especially that too, maybe do you call a timeout after this? You do have time. Do you take the buzzer beater? What happens? Second one is up, rattles out. So Kennesaw State can win it with a simple bucket. And a timeout's going to be called. Timeout called by Kennesaw State. Boy, oh boy. Inching closer and closer to triple zeros on the clock. Xavier up by 1. Back here at Greensboro Coliseum, Kennesaw State has the ball, and Xavier is up by 1 point. The season may come down to this for both teams. Kennesaw State, the Atlantic Sun champions, they've been in close games this entire season, including the Atlantic Sun final, where they beat Liberty on their home turf 67-66. For Xavier, it's been a little interesting in terms of that. Now, I don't know what the refs are talking about. They're at the officials' table right now. I'm going to try to see how many seconds are left on the clock, or when Amir Abdur-Rahim called that timeout. Once again, we've had an upflux of folks coming in. Thanks for tuning in. Let me set the scene for you. Xavier coming in as the 3 seed, Kennesaw State coming in as the 14 seed. First time that the Owls are in the tournament, and it was a dogfight early on. The Owls were up 43-36 at half. And then afterwards, Xavier took over, went on a 15-2 run, and we've been kind of stuck at around the deadlock position ever since. 12.8 seconds to go in what has been an enthralling game so far. One of the first games of the day, my only live react of the day, unfortunately. I'll be watching. I wanted to do Kent State, Indiana, but my Arizona State Sun Devils are playing during that time, so I want to watch them as well. We'll be doing a react tomorrow with Duke versus Tennessee. So if you like what you see today, remember to tune in tomorrow. You can know my handle, Mihir Sinhasan. Once again, thanks for tuning in. It's always great to show the madness when you get to this time, and especially to this place. So without further ado, 13.6 seconds left. And taking the inbound will be number 22 for Kent State. That being Rogers. Spencer Rogers. Here's the inbound, right towards Burden. 12 seconds left on the shot clock. Up against Kobe Jones, still at the edge of the arc. 6 seconds left, still going up. Burden, it's blocked by Nunji. 3 seconds left, it's still going. Boom has grabbed the ball, and 1.6 seconds left. He is fouled and will head to the line. Jack Nunji and the defense shows up for Xavier. Great block and a great finish there. You knew it had to be the defense, as Xavier only was up by a point. Boom with a great job to just cradle the ball like a little baby. And Xavier just free throws away from potentially winning this. Now, I will tell you, it is a 1 point difference. It is 1.6 seconds on the clock. We've seen crazier stuff in the game of basketball. So this game is far from over. And I think the question becomes, when did Boom get fouled? And I think the ref called it at around 1.9 seconds. So they might give a few tenths of the seconds of the clock back towards Kennesaw State. But how about this? Jack Nunji going up for a block. He's led the teams in block with about 1.1. That was his third block of the day, and boy, oh boy, might have been the play of the game for a Muskie side that hasn't been 100% in this one. Of course, haven't been 100% overall since Zach Fremantle went down in late January, but nonetheless have combated that ever since and have played well, to say nonetheless. So it was actually not 1.9. It was not 1.6 where it was originally given. They're going to say that Rogers fouled Boom at 2.6. So now Soleil Boom at the line, 86.3% from the charity stripe. He'll put that one up and in. It's also important to know Kennesaw State does not have a timeout. So if it were to be forced, it would be Xavier doing the honors. You do have some rebounding purposes, guys coming in. Stroud will be heading out for Kennesaw State. Second one for Boom, up and in. The best Kennesaw State can do is tie. And with that, Sean Miller will call his fourth and final timeout. Xavier with a good defensive stop. They're up 70-67 right now. And you take a look at that. There's a possibility that Colby Jones might have gotten away with a reach and foul there on Rogers, who was trying to get the rebound after the Burden play, but it ended up not happening overall. So now it becomes a Sean Miller drawing at his whiteboard, trying to see who would get the ideal. I think the other fact of the matter is because Xavier's up by 3, this is in essence, this is where you foul if you're Xavier. If you don't foul, it's not a smart move. It's kind of a boneheaded move, in my opinion. You kind of decide where you're going to put the trap circuits if you're the Muskies and then foul them, because after that, then it really gets interesting on how this would work. But nonetheless, 2.6 seconds left. Still a chance for the Owls to tie. They're going to try to go to the backcourt as this one is thrown up for Rogers. Rogers going up. He'll heave this from behind half court. The buzzer will sound. But was there a foul before then? I think they're going to call a turn. Oh, just saw the replay. They're going to call a turnover here on Rogers because he stepped out of bounds. So they'll put some seconds on the clock, but it's pretty much safe to say that Xavier is in straightaway range, as I like to call it, aka they have a chance to get the win here. Whew. I mean, we've seen some close ones, and I'll be honest with you, in terms of close games, especially at this caliber, like a 14-3, we've seen a lot of teams, the upset teams, get the win. 0.8 seconds left as Boom is fouled again, this time by Jennings. So he'll head back to the line again. And just they're showing the replay of Rogers stepping out of bounds, and he was just, it was the sole of the right foot, kind of the outside of it, very close overall. They're going to give a little more seconds back towards Kennesaw State. It's going to be at 1.7 seconds now. Boom's first free throw is up and good, so it will be a 2-ball game. So in essence, Kennesaw State really has to pull off a miracle if they want to advance. Second one is up and also good. 72-67, and pretty much the heave will be put up, and that's going to be it. What a game. It seemed like Xavier was dead in the dust, but like the Muskies always say, all for one and one for all. And all the guys on Xavier knew the one task at hand, keep their season alive. Boy, did they do so. They were down by 13 points periodically in that second half, went on a great run to tie it up, and were able to show out down the distance, especially with Jack Nungy getting a block there towards the end. It was Terrell Burden for Kennesaw State driving to the bucket, and Jack Nungy, the senior, the transfer who came over from Iowa just a few years ago, pulling off a great play, blocking it away from the net, and Xavier did the rest off free throws. Final score from Greensboro Coliseum, it's the Xavier Musketeers 72 and the Kennesaw State Owls 67. What a performance by Amir Abdul-Rahim and the Owls. I'd love to see this team at a tournament again. Just tough overall, and especially for their seniors, Damon Robinson and Terrell Burden, who both played great games. Chris Youngblood, a junior on that squad, so we will see him next year. Again, a great performance and a great day for Kennesaw State, and a great day to this action. As I've said, unfortunately, I will not be back later today to do any type of coverage, but I will say at 9:30 Phoenix time, 12:30 Eastern, I will be back for another post-game wrap-up right here on YouTube of what we saw earlier today. Again, a lot of great action, including this close finish for Sean Miller and crew. Of course, Sean, during his time at Arizona, was exempt, or rather used to being out in the first round. So a good win for Sean Miller as well. A chance to potentially face his alma mater on Sunday, which is Pittsburgh. If not, it's going to be the Cyclones of Iowa State. Again, Xavier moving on in the 2023 March Madness tournament. I'm Mihir Sinhasan. Thanks for tuning in, and if you liked what you saw, subscribe to my channel. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Twitter and TikTok is Mihir Sinhasan, and then on Instagram is going to be MJ Sinhasan. So long. Have a great day. Stay safe, and as always, happy March Madness, everybody.